evening, and welcome to this week's edition of What's So Funny, a show that talks about the funny with the people who make it happen. Now, our guest this week hails from Montreal, but makes his home in gray and dreary Los Angeles. He has the rugged good looks of a Mormon Wall Street trader with the comic sensibilities of a road dog, with a near endless supply of smash hits, some of which are all new. Making his first appearance on the program since 2013, it's Michael Gelbart. And of course, we have your host, a man who thrives in this socially distant world, not because of his hairline or his affinity for jazz music, but because he never laughs when anyone says anything funny. It's the one, the only, Mr. Guy McPherson.
I'm just waiting, Sam. I'm just waiting to laugh.
No, you never laugh.
Oh, come on.
I have a
Thank
question.
you for that lovely introduction. And we have a question already right out of the
Love
gate from Michael Gelbart, our guest.
My question is, last time I did this show, it was just with Guy, and now there's a guy named Sam Tonning on the show.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, if you recall, I've always done it with somebody else, but when we do it remotely, sometimes I just go out on my own, and we recorded that one in the showroom of Yuck Yucks, I believe, was it?
Yeah, you are correct.
Ah, nice. Yuck Yucks.
Can you hear
It was
me?
at the showroom. Yeah, well, I didn't hear you when I said for the Yuck Yucks showroom. Is
Oh,
that
I
right?
said something great when you said that.
Oh, what did you say?
What Yuck Yucks? Was this the one on Canby or was this downtown?
I
I
don't.
think it was the one on Canby.
Is it still open? I mean,
It
nothing's
is.
open now, but was it open in February?
Yes, it was.
I
That's
guess that
the
would be
one.
that's the Canby one. I guess I haven't been
I think
there, and
so.
I haven't been
Yeah,
there
that's
since I
right.
saw you.
And let's talk about that. Now, I mean, you are still a working comedian.
That's yes. I mean, I don't go. In your intro, you called me a road dog, or no, you said I had the somethings of a road dog, but
Well, I'll be honest here. Because you have all smash hits and all new smash hits, you get those by working on it. You know,
That's
you're not
true.
just fly by night joke buyer city comic with no jokes.
You're making a very good point. However, I just don't. But I didn't develop them on the road. I don't do much road work, right? Oh, what was that?
God, that was my disappointing in myself for assuming.
No. I go on the road. I maybe headline 6 or 7 comedy clubs a year. I'm not an active road comedian per se. There's a lot of different ways a comedian lives, and the road one from my earliest days when I was 17 and I met older comedians. I was like, the one thing I don't want to be is a guy who spends his life on the road, but I did want to get some road experience, and I got that. But yeah, I don't spend a lot of time on the road, but there's a little bit.
Hey, I don't know if you're noticing this, Sam. Is he dropping out in the middle again?
Not that much.
I
Okay,
will
good.
never drop out in the middle. I believe in staying until the entire show is done. And
Well,
that's
God bless you for that.
has anyone ever dropped out in the middle? Like just said, I'm not enjoying this interview and I'm gone?
Nobody, not yet. That would be cool if it happened.
Has there, not that you'd ever tell me, but is there a worst episode? Like, is there one where you're like, this, I'll still play it, but we just did not click?
Well, let me just try to answer from what I heard. Has there been a worst episode? There's so many to choose from, Michael, that I can't just pick one.
That was what I heard as well. I think that's what you said.
Yes, I asked about worst episodes, but
Yeah, that's a good question. There, of course, been some best ones as well, including the one you were on in 2013. I would put right up there.
Oh man.
I played that one over once or twice over the years, and
Yeah.
I do remember that very fondly. I have fond memories of that. So,
Have you have you done many other podcasts?
oh yeah, I do. Every time I do one, I vow to get my own podcast going. Like, I love it so much, and I can't wait to go home and start one, and that goes away. But I am gonna announce right now that that's not gonna stay. I'm gonna start a podcast in 2020 for sure. I have to. I
You
don't want.
should.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be called "What's So Funny" because that's taken, but it'll be. I have ideas, and it's time to express them.
It's time the world knows about Michael Gelbart's many, many ideas. Uh, so you've been on other podcasts. How did the one that we did in 2013 stack up with all the others that you've done?
I love that one. It's in my top 5 favorite podcasts I've done, and
Excellent.
yeah, and then there's of course uh, some I hate. Like sometimes you don't know anything about the person you're doing their podcast, and then you get on it and you find you just wildly disagree with everything they say, and but that wasn't that wasn't the case with you, and yeah, you don't. You're a
Yeah,
pretty.
because we didn't know each other at all.
You saw me do stand up like maybe a trip before that or the night before that.
The night before that, I believe. Yeah.
And we've been best pals ever since.
Well, and as I mentioned on that podcast, the episode those many years ago, I did see you even years before that on the Mike Bullard show.
Yeah, that's true. You did mention that. You had a propensity for that show. You enjoyed it.
Yeah, you remember. And you know what? I want to talk about another show that I didn't enjoy as much, but it's interesting that you did it. Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen.
Oh yeah. Did you watch my Comics Unleashed, or are you just aware that I did it?
I didn't see your episode.
I never saw my episode either, but it's a bizarre show. And I love doing it. It was ridiculously fun. It's not. It was more of a fake feeling than other TV shows because the audience is like encouraged to laugh and clap regardless of what you say. Like almost like the minute this guy stops talking, start laughing. Like yeah. So it feels like the audience is kind of almost extras. Like they feel like paid extras. I don't think they are, but they definitely react to stuff in a way that I don't know is the most natural I've ever heard in my life.
Well, so from what I understand, Comics Unleashed it's just teeing you up for your material. Is that right?
That is that's absolutely right. Like you have to write out what you're gonna say, and then you have to write out his question, like how you want the question asked.
Oh,
And
jeez.
so then Byron will go, I understand you enjoy pizza. And then you, yeah, what's going on with pizza? And then you do your pizza joke. And then after you finish that, he goes, I understand you dropped out of school. Like, and then the person does their dropped out of school material or whatever. It's an odd show. I don't know that they'll ever do any more of those, but it was fun doing it.
He's too busy running the Weather Network now, right? Or the Weather Channel, I should say.
Well, I gotta say, I do admire the man. I mean, he owns a shocking amount of properties, like a show business. He has a show business monopoly, or not a monopoly, but he's got a dynasty of some sort. He's done whatever. If he has a vision board, he's got a lot of check marks next to his visions. He's definitely and when I was a child, when I was a mere 7 or 8, I remember seeing him on a TV show in the 80s called Real People, and he was a host. Like it was one of those. Can you believe this guy? Yeah, Real People.
Hey, Real People. Did you ever hear Norm Macdonald's joke about Comics Unleashed?
Yeah, that's why I almost felt a little bit of reluctance to because my take on Comics Unleashed is almost it's Norm's basically, because I used to feature for Norm for like 2 years, and he used to talk about Comics Unleashed, and then I found out he was telling the story elsewhere. Like he loves talking about Comics Unleashed with almost a fascination, but my observation on the show is pretty derivative of his.
Yeah, Norm's line was something like, "It couldn't be more leashed."
Yeah, I refused to say that just now because that's obviously Norm's, and you gave him
Right.
credit. But when I was talking about Comics Unleashed, I still felt I was derivative of Norm's story. But here's a story about how.
But it's got to be everyone's story who has been on the show.
Yeah, but I think he's the first person to take the anecdote from the show and tell it somewhere, Other people might have just done the show and said, well, that was weird or whatever, but he actually did the show and said, there's something hilarious to this that needs to be brought to the attention of other people.
Yes. And now Byron Allen has a show that's kind of like Hollywood Squares, or is it Hollywood Squares?
He has a game show.
Yeah, and it's very scripted as well, where they have to supply a very quick, funny answer to a question, and then the two contestants will either agree with the celebrity or disagree with the celebrity.
I have not seen this fine program, but
you should get on it, Gelby.
Oh, hey, did you know I don't like the name Gelby? Not that I want you to edit it out. I want you to keep it in because I want to tell you the story of my thoughts on the name.
On the name Gelby?
Yes, I want to tell you what I think of it.
Please.
All right. I started stand-up at 17, and most of the comedians around me were like 35 and stuff, and they really didn't like a 17-year-old kid hanging around, I wasn't well respected. They thought I was just some punk, and I wanted to ingratiate myself. I wanted them to like me more. So sometime in my late teens or early 20s, I think it was Jeremy Hotz who first called me Gelby, right? So then I was like, I'm gonna start using that. I'm not gonna say call me Gelby, but if you throw it in a conversation or something, other people will pick up on the fact that you said it. And my thought psychologically was that you can't dislike someone if you're calling them Gelby. It automatically makes you think you like the person if you're using a little cute nickname.
It's very close. There's a closeness if you're calling somebody Gelby.
So I called myself Gelby a couple times in front of the right people, and then they started doing it. And before I knew it, all these older comedians were calling me Gelby, and they kind of forgot that they didn't like this punk kid, And then as I got older, by the time I was about 30, I'm like, oh my God, I hate this name. I'm a grown man now. It feels like I'm a sitcom character, like a child character on a sitcom. And I'm like, so I wanted it to stop, but it was my own, it was like your own creation that got away from you. And then, so people still say it. And it's like, for a guy who's 46, it's like nails on a chalkboard. But there's really nothing you can do about it because some of the choices you make in life are they're just gonna linger, Like it's not as bad a choice as doing heroin, but some of these things just stick,
Well, I think I saw it on was it like a Disney sitcom or something you were on?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, one of the creators of that show was a friend of mine, and he gave me the lead in an episode. I was writing on the show. I wrote like 6 episodes of that show, and then he had me be the lead guest character, and he played a loose version of myself. And the other characters in the show were calling me Gelby, but that was like 11 years ago still. And look, if someone's offering you like the lead guest role on a TV show and they want to call the character Gelby, you just say yes,
Yeah, you could get called anything and you got to say yes.
Yeah.
Really? You just got to agree to anything that anyone says?
Well, I'll agree to anything. Oh,
Wow.
Man, if it's lead guest, star, I got to do it, right? Now, if it's rapist number 2, no way.
Look, well, if they wanted to call Gelby, if the character of Gelby was a rapist, I would then say no. I refuse to refer to Gelby as a rapist. But in this particular case,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was a fine, upstanding citizen. So
the character's name was Michael Gelbart.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I was playing much like Larry David, but on a teen sitcom instead. I was playing a fictional version of myself, and so his characters, his name was Michael Gelbart and Gelby. Yes, this actually happened.
Oh, how many years ago was that?
This was back when men were men, and no, this is in the 2009 range, I want to say. But hey, get this. So I know that movie theaters are all closed right now, but I don't know if anyone can remember a time when they were all open, right? And you'd go with your best gal to the movies, and you'd get a popcorn and a soda. But so back in about 2011, when that series was still on the air, a bunch of kids that worked at the movie theater, my favorite movie theater, were like, "Oh my God, we saw you on this sitcom, and you're the best," or whatever. And I'm like, "Well, thanks, kids." And then the next time I came into the theater, they gave me a what do they call it? A newsletter, the movie theater's newsletter, and it said celebrities that visited our theaters, and I was like right after Gomez, Selena Gomez was right was right ahead of me, and then it was me, and then Dave Foley or something.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
you guys don't realize that I'm not up there with these fine stars.
Did you have to drop off an 8x10 glossy that they could put up in their lobby?
No, the major movie theater chains don't allow that. That's more of a dry cleaning store kind of thing, or an old school delicatessen. But in corporate America or North America, you can't do any personal touches to a corporation.
Ah, who knew?
But now there's nothing. There's no mom and pop places. There's no corporations. It's just, we're all just at home.
Have you ever, like, when I see, a diner would have celebrity 8x10 glossies. And I'm wondering, do the celebrities just go around with a bag full of 8x10 glossies they can hand out
No.
and sign?
Well, look, the rare time I've been on a few walls in my life, right? One of them was a Toronto sub place called Chubby Subby that I loved. And they used to come see me at comedy clubs, and they'd see me on TV and they go, "Can you bring picture?" That's the way, that's how everyone sounds when they want a photo for their wall. Even if they don't have an accent, they immediately go, "Can you bring picture?" And then they go back to their regular voice. But so yeah, I was on the wall of that place, and I was on the wall of one of my favorite burger places when I was in my 20s. But yeah, I haven't been on a lot of walls.
Oh, man. Send me a picture and I'll put one up in my office here.
You didn't say it with an accent.
Hey, Michael,
Yes, my friend.
can you send me a picture?
That's not exactly the voice I did, but it doesn't matter. Yes, I can. I don't
Look,
even
I'm
have.
horrible at accents.
No, but this is the thing. Is no celebrity the minute you walk around with a bag full of pictures, you cease to be someone whose picture anyone wants.
Wow, that is like the catch-22.
Yes. So what happens is you're eating your snacks, and then they say, "Hey, I saw you on TV. Can you bring picture?" And then you bring picture, but you don't show up with a picture.
Okay, got it.
By the way, I can't guarantee, but I think the 2013 episode is better.
So far. And has nothing to do with Sam.
No, Sam is making it the best, but yeah, this isn't the best
I'm
I've ever
trying.
done. I want to get back to one thing for a second. I don't know if you remember. Okay, so I was talking about Norm and how I didn't know if I wanted to tell the story about Comics Unleashed, right? And when I was a young lad, and I did an episode of a Canadian TV show called Comedy Now.
Yeah.
So I shot my episode, and then I said the word whore in it, right? Which is not a word that really fits my act at all. And it doesn't fit my persona or the way it doesn't fit me. But the reason I said it is because I was a big fan of Weekend Update, and Norm was saying the word whore on Weekend Update all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, damn, the next day after taping my special, I was like, damn it, I said the word whore. I would give anything if they didn't use it because I said it because of another comedian. And then they called me up out of nowhere and they said, "We really loved your work, but we want to expand your episode to 44 minutes, and we don't have long enough because we didn't know we wanted to do an hour of you. So could you come back in and do like 10 more minutes on someone else's tape night?" So I thought this is the biggest break in the world because now I get to repeat that same joke without the word whore in it, and I will no longer be derivative. And I did that. And that's the kind of thing that
And it
matters
all
to
worked
me.
out?
Yeah, they didn't use the word horror in my special. And I mean, I would hate it if it were on the special for a variety of reasons. One, the word whore is not what's the word? It's not aging well at all. And
Right. It's
also,
like an old whore.
yeah, like the old whores don't age well, and the word whore is actually aging badly as well, you know? And but the reason it bothered me was because of it was I was being derivative and I knew that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, I think the comedy nows haven't aged well too.
I think that's very possible. I haven't watched mine since its original air date.
You have a cadence not unlike Mr. Macdonald, and it comes naturally. It's not derivative, I would say.
Word choices are still derivative though.
True.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, if you played my voice and Norm's voice next to each other, the cadence wouldn't quite be there. It must be very minor, but it's also probably because we tend to emulate, even on a subconscious level, the comedians we liked when we were growing up or the ones we admired. And for me, my two favorites are Norm Macdonald and Seinfeld, right? So some of my material was accused of being Seinfeld-esque at a young age, and so those are my earlier influences. So if there's anything that came from that, it was because of an admiration of their sound or their work. But I tried to make sure that I sound like me.
Are you a Drake Sather fan?
Because Drake Sather and Norm at one point back in the early '90s, they were compared to each other
Working
heavily,
for
weren't
Dennis
they?
Miller, right?
Yeah, and there was a lot of comparisons made in their tone or just their aesthetic appearance and stuff. And I wasn't a huge Drake Sather fan because I didn't see a lot of him, but from what I did see, I thought he was quite great. Were you a fan of his?
I was, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think Sam, too.
We're fans of Drake on the show.
Yeah, he died quite tragically back in about 2003, I think, or four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was terrible. And in a tangent here, Sam and I, have seen Drake Sather on Amazon Prime,
Mm-hmm.
where we can go back and watch Evening at the Improv or the comedy. What was it? The Comedy Club Network.
Yeah, he was on Young Comedians. And
They have a lot of great old '80s comedy on there. And didn't you have a big signing recently, Michael Gelbart?
Well, no, look, well, it's like this. I signed with a company to distribute my special. I shot a special back in 2017, and then it was edited in 2018. And the audio from that special is on JFL Sirius station pretty much almost daily or bi-daily, I think. But the actual special, the investors and I just kind of sat on it. We didn't look for they were like, "Okay, go find a distribution company." And I'm like, "Okay, you guys go find a distribution company." And so we just sat there, and then finally I'm like, "You know what? I'm going to find us a distribution company." So now we have that, and they're going to take it out and shop it. I I don't know where it's going to end up. I can't speculate, but it will end up somewhere good, and hopefully it'll be soon. But they've given me a lot of things I need to do now. Like I thought I'd just sign it and then hand over the masters, but that's not all I have to do now. They sent me a checklist of everything required of me to, and I have to like fill out a lot of paperwork now. It's quite annoying, but that's part of life, I suppose.
So I didn't realize. Yeah, this is 3 years old. This special. Where did you record it?
I'm gonna call it 2 years old because 2017 was just the recording date, but there was nothing to sell until 2018 or view. It was recorded in Toronto at a theater called the Randolph Theater. We did 2 tapings, and then we edited together. You do take 2 tapings in the same night in the same clothes, and you edit it together, and then the magic happens.
And it was magical, was it?
It was one of the happier days of my life. Top 20 for sure, I'd say. Performing in front of a sold out audience of people that like you already, and it's a really nice feeling. And also writing a new. Well, it's not entirely new, even though it's called All New Smash Hits. It's like it's like 40 minutes new, and then but writing
Mostly new smash hits.
well, you see, it's a oxymoron because you can't be all new and smash hits, right? But
Right.
yeah, but yet, nevertheless, it's not even all new. It's like 80-something% all new, and it was a weird feeling because before taping it, you start to play clubs for a little while, maybe a little while in advance. I remember doing 30 spots before taping, like 30 spots in a month to prepare. And on the last weekend before taping, I was like, I still feel one bit short. And I don't mean like a 30-second bit. I felt like a 5-minute chunk was missing. And then I came up with something on like a week before, and then workshopped it like 4 times beforehand, whittling it down in front of audiences. And then by the time the taping happened, it was like one of my favorite bits of all time, but it didn't exist a week beforehand.
Wow.
And it ended up being like a 4 or 5-minute bit.
What clubs were you working these jokes out in?
Well, all over. I was in Los Angeles, so I would do guest spots at the Improv and the Laugh Factory and the Comedy Store, and just anyone's book show around town. And then the week before that, I headlined the Yuck Yucks in Mississauga, so I could do the full show like four times.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and that's where that weekend, like Thursday night, I came up with the joke. And then Friday I did it twice, and Saturday I did it 2 more times, and then and then I did it on TV, and it's one of my favorite bits. But it didn't exist a week earlier. I drove home on the Thursday and said, "I think I got something," and then like the first time I tried it, it was 10 minutes long, and some of it was insufferable because you're like working it out in front of people, and then you whittle it down to 7, and then I had the 4.5 that was solid.
What was the topic?
The topic is the song for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow," because "Happy Birthday to You" is already a perfect song. But everything in life, every business, anything, always has some copycat or someone trying to knock you off the throne. And for "He's the Jolly Good Fellow" is like the most unnecessary song of all time. So it's about the guy who wrote the song, trying to pitch it to the record label or something, explain how it's going to knock "Happy Birthday to You" on its ass, and then teaching them the lyrics and going point by point through each lyric for "He's a Jolly Good Fellow" and explaining why each line was chosen. and that joke was only attempted 4 times before. And I wish that would happen more often, because sometimes you come up with something that you think is amazing, and then you bring it to the stage and you just never find the words, or it really isn't amazing. It was only good to you. But that was one of those rare ones where it always got an applause break ever since, but at 4 days before the special, it didn't exist.
Hey, Michael, we got to put you to work here. Scroll down to the bottom of your screen and give that a read, will you?
Give what a read?
Well, I'll just scroll down. You'll see some words.
This is Michael Gelbart, and you're listening to What's So Funny with Guy and Sam on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM, your isolation station.
How is your isolation going?
Can I read that again or no?
Yeah.
This is Michael Gelbart, and you're listening to What's So Funny with Guy and Sam on Vancouver Co-op Radio CFRO 100.5 FM, your isolation station.
So, but Michael, how
Yeah.
is your isolation going down in Los Angeles?
I'll tell you, I think that I view this isolation as an opportunity to see it's a test for all of us to test how our endurance, our ability to get through something. And I think I give myself an 8 or a 7.5 out of 10 for how well I'm handling it. Every morning I wake up, I run 4 miles outside. I do keep a mask on. If I see someone coming, I'll move 6 feet away, but I get through 4 miles of running every day. Although the other day I didn't wear a mask because I knew it had rained the night before. And so I knew there would be nobody outside. And so I'm running alone. There's nobody. There's no cars. There's no people. I'm all alone in the world. And some guy around mile number 3 rolls down his window. He's got a very beat up car, no hubcaps on his car. He starts yelling at me, but I refuse to take off my earbuds, so I can't hear him. But he's giving me the finger and he's yelling. And I know that it's about me being out. I just know it. But he's able to pull over, not even pull over. He's in the street and he's able to stop driving because there's literally no one in the world. So I say to him, I'm all alone out here. You're all alone out here. The only reason we're engaged right now is because you're asking for engagement. And he's still
Is what?
is because you're asking to be engaged right now. And
Mm.
he continued to yell while he drove off and give me the finger. And I just yelled, "Get some hubcaps!" And that was the whole thing.
You showed him.
Oh yeah, I sure did, But I've been working out at home every day, and I've been eating terribly though. That's the one thing. My diet is very off. Every day I swear I'm going to get back into healthy eating, but every day I've been failing at that. So that part's a little bad. And I've been binging a shocking amount of shows. And I'm also on a dating app for the first time in 5 years. I didn't enjoy dating apps 5 years ago. And now I'm back on one out of, I guess, a little bit of boredom.
Now
So
that you don't actually have to go out on a date with anyone.
that's right. Yeah, there will be no
Pressure's
dating.
off.
It is, but yeah,
You know about the Norm Macdonald dating app?
I don't really know that much about it.
It's called Loco.
Is it an actual thing? Does it exist?
I think. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think it has like virtual dates, right?
Yeah.
Prior to meeting, and I just have a hard time understanding why Norm Macdonald would be involved in a dating app if it's real, but it looks to be real.
Well, I think Norm is very much a man of mystery, and
Yeah, okay.
there are various things about Norm that I haven't talked to him in a decade, by the way. But there are just it almost feels like he's trolling the world in many ways,
Yeah.
like some things he does, he actually legitimately commits to, but they still seem very not Norm like, and it almost feels like he's trolling the world, and that he will never reveal that he was doing that because that would ruin it. But
Right.
I suspect that if the dating app was a huge success, then he'd be happy about it. And if it never became anything, then it's just one of the many interesting things that he did that would puzzle people, which is probably so it's a plus either way.
I was wondering about your relationship status, if it had changed in the 7 years that we spoke, and I guess it hasn't.
Well, it's changed some of the times, but it didn't. Now it's back to where it was. I had some serious girlfriends throughout my life. I haven't. I've had a couple of 1 year, some 2 years living together. All that. I've run the gamut in the serious relationship realm. Almost got married once, but I would say that the past 7 years, there's been the good mix of 6 months, 9 months, a year,
but no one that I think I'm going to walk down an aisle with, or yeah, and currently, obviously, nobody, because I'm on a dating app again for the first time in 5 years. But yeah, there's no one I love in the world. No, not in the world, but yeah, I would have a serious relationship, maybe after the what is this again? The quarantine is over.
Yeah, once you actually can get out on a date.
What about you? Are you in the same relationship? Are you still with the wife?
I believe I am. Yeah. I
And
mean, I'm still with. Yes, that's correct. I was just trying to do the math. 2013. Yeah, we were married then.
what about you, Sam? We got any love in your life?
Well, let's see. Yeah, I got an appropriately aged lady.
Why did you have to say
Yeah,
appropriately
it's
aged?
it's good.
Yeah. What does that mean, Sam?
Well, like, cause I want to say a young lady, but like not.
Well, you're a young
I
guy.
might be over explaining myself here and making it sound way worse than I intended.
Well, here's the thing, Sam.
But yeah, no, I am happy.
I'd say young lady about almost any lady, because it's just a ridiculous turn of phrase, But I don't really mean that anyone's particularly inappropriately aged. But what is an appropriate age? I don't know how old you
Uh,
are, Sam. What is the correct number? What is
I'm
a good,
34 years old.
and what would be too young?
A good number for me. I 25 is as low as I would go.
Okay,
I
then
like someone to have at least an undergraduate degree.
what if they're 25 but they are dropouts?
Hmm.
Is
Yeah,
it
we wouldn't match then.
I require a master's degree.
Same. That's why my girlfriend has a PhD.
I think that I have unrealistic expectations about relationships, and that kind of holds me back. I'm being honest to you. I think
What is
that,
what's yeah, what's unrealistic?
well, some women say to me that my problem is I want a unicorn, right? Which doesn't mean I want to date an actual unicorn, but a woman who is well educated, beautiful, funny, like-minded, all wait like that I'm setting my sights in unrealistic uh, fashions. I don't think that's true.
Mhm.
I've had my every relationship has, we all have an enormous amount of flaws as human beings, and I will accept that. But the flaws have to work with my flaws, and it's happened in the past, but it's not current. Nothing's currently. I did have a young lady
Well,
that would come over every month, but
you sound discerning, not like picky or in search of a unicorn. You just have preferences, and you are mature enough to understand that those preferences matter.
yes, absolutely. I mean, I never wanted to be someone who wanted to be in a relationship just because they wanted one. It has to be, you have to go with who you meet first. And too many
Yeah.
relationships are all based on, well, everyone I know got married within these 3 or 4 years, so I'm going to do the same, and that is that's
Oh,
ultimately disastrous.
yeah. That's not good at all.
Well, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot any way you slice it, whether it seems perfect or not.
Well, that's oddly negative of you, Guy.
No, but no, it's
Well,
true.
like there's no predicting. There's no predicting what'll work and what isn't. So Michael's friends who they seem like a perfect match, and they've gone out an appropriate number of years and then gotten married. Maybe they didn't work out, right?
Yeah, well, at this point in my life, my friends have run the gamut between people who married at 25 and are still together, and people who are on their second or third marriages. So yeah, these things are a crapshoot, but
Mm-hmm.
it going into it, it should be. I mean, ideally, you'd want to be based. It would be based on the desire to marry that person rather than just the desire to be married in general, right?
Ideally,
Ideally,
ideally, yeah.
yeah, that's
Now, you mentioned earlier that you're going to do a podcast in 2020.
I
That was your
got to.
vow to us. Is there a particular topic? Could it be a relationship podcast? What kind of podcast?
My podcast is going to be about an area of my life that I've never discussed, which is my ability to it's going to basically be a financial podcast about a variety of different things people do or have done uh, for money that they're not illegal, but they're loophole based. I've always been very, very good at looking at any kind of deal and going, what is the loophole there, and then exercising the loophole. So I'm thinking of doing a loophole related podcast.
Loophole. You're, and you like a loophole based economy,
Yes, I do enjoy a nice loophole based economy. And
like selling runners, selling sneakers.
oh, do you know about that?
Everybody knows about that. Gelby?
Wait, call me Gelby again. I'm never going to live that name down.
Yeah, no, I heard about that. I heard that you like nice running shoes. Uh, any particular brand?
I own about 30 pairs of Adidas, and I the amount I spent, I have like 30 pairs of Adidas and a bunch of hoodies and track pants and all sorts of Adidas clothing, and the grand total I spent on them was plus 500, meaning that I'm ahead 500 on buying the clothes.
How is that?
What you do is you go to an Adidas factory outlet, and when they have their 50% off sale, and then if you see a pair of shoes that's like, why is this $20? How could they be selling this pair for $20? And you look on eBay and you notice there's people are buying them for $60 or $70. So then you buy a pair for yourself, and you buy like two more pairs to list for $60 or $70. And then before you know it, you've made back all the money you spent, plus you're ahead, and you keep the shoes you buy for yourself. Now, I did this a number of times. Now I'm about $500 ahead, plus all the free shoes and all the free clothing. There's nothing illegal about that. I'm still giving something to someone that they wanted. I just found I found it for way less.
You found the loophole.
You're a businessman.
In some capacity, yes. Yeah, well, if there's someone out there spending $150 on those same shoes, but I'm buying them for $20, it's still the same exact shoe. It's not like Adidas. It's still the same Adidas from the store. So no one is being ripped off. It's just that you managed to find a way to get what you want and get paid to have it. And that's happened more often than not in my life. It became a bit of an addiction for me, the way some people are addicted to alcohol or drugs. See, I had to name what other things that people could be addicted to so you'd understand. But it became an addiction where I could not stop exercising the loopholes. Every time I saw one, I'm like, I can't say no to this. And eventually I realized that even though I'm winning by doing it, I'm actually losing because it's still time consuming. So some of these stories are going to be like, wow, I wish I could do that stories. But some of them are also going to be cautionary tales because they are a bit of if you have talents in other areas, they can still be a bit of a waste of time.
Here's something else I did recently that you don't know about. No one in the world knows about this.
Well, we got a scoop.
It was not something that even interested me at one point, but I decided to write a musical, like a movie musical. I've written like
say that again. What did you do?
I wrote a movie musical, like a screenplay, and I wrote the lyrics to 13 original songs for the movie, right? And
Wow.
I started writing.
I didn't know you were a musician.
I'm not a musician. Sometime in early October, an idea just hit me that I want to write a musical movie. So I just sat down and started writing it. And then before I knew it, I'd had 13 finished lyrics. I had the lyrics to 13 songs. And then I built a story around the songs. And then I approached one of my musician friends who's had some success in that area. And he's going to write the first 4 songs. Like he's going to turn them into songs. So when I go out and pitch this movie, that I'll have 4 finished songs to at least to go into a room with.
That is great.
So
And I'm not just saying this, but I love musicals. Are you a musical guy, or did this just come to you and that was the only form it could take?
Musical theater or movie musicals were never my thing, but as a kid, my dad loved musicals, right? He'd always play like Oklahoma in the car and stuff like that. He liked he never got into the rock era or anything like that. He was born in 1940, so you'd think at 16 he would have liked Elvis, but he liked way older music than that. So he'd always play musicals in the car and stuff. And so I knew my dad liked them, but it was never my thing. And then in September, I was dating a young lady, or a appropriately aged lady, and she loved musicals like with an incredible passion. And that relationship didn't really turn into anything big, but what it did leave me with was suddenly I wanted to write one. So in early October, I just found myself coming up with lyrics, and now I guess the first four finished songs will be recorded soon. But my friend did not agree to write the music for 13 songs. So what I'm going to do is when we're able to go out again and pitch things. I'm going to pitch the movie idea with the four recorded songs, and if they want to make it, then he would come aboard and write the rest of the music. But I wrote the
What
lyrics.
about a live a live musical? Does it have to be a movie?
That is an excellent question. I think of things mostly cinematically. Like I'd rather find $100,000 and make it as an incredibly small musical, or I'd rather make it as a bigger musical. But live musicals are very tough. I mean, it takes a hell of a long time to. You got to find a location, and you got to. Like it's just a very long, arduous process. So I think cinematically mostly. So I'm hoping it's a movie, but if it was a successful movie on a streaming service, um, then it could be a musical in theaters later.
I know Sarah Silverman is doing an off-Broadway musical with her songs.
Who is?
Sarah Silverman.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then she wrote them, from what I understand, with the guy who just died from COVID, the guy from Fountains of Wayne, Adam.
Oh my God, I love that guy. He wrote That Thing You
Yeah,
Do, and
yeah,
and he wrote Adam Schlesinger, I think his name was,
yes,
and
yes.
he wrote the what's that amazing? He wrote the last no, he produced the Last Monkeys album, which was really good. They had a new album out like a year and a half ago, and it's very
Hmm.
good.
The Monkees.
The Monkees had a new album like 2 years ago, and some of the songs are very, very good, and he produced that.
That's right, they did, and I saw them play at the P&E here in Vancouver. The three of surviving ones, or two. It was just two.
Well, yeah, they it was a weird thing. Michael Nesmith never wanted to tour with them, so when you'd go see them, they were always Davy Jones, Peter Tork, and Mickey Dolenz. And then after Davy died, that's when suddenly Michael Nesmith was like, "Okay, I'll perform now." It's like you're a day late and a buck short, though. You know.
Maybe Davy was the problem with them.
I don't think it was that. I think it was just like you realize when you lose one of your friends or you lose one of your coworkers, just how short of a time we have on Earth. And if you're going to do something, you got to do it now. That's what I started realizing last fall. I was like taking a look at my life, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm not quite where I want to be, and what can I do to fix that? And I started with finishing the musical, and then when I finally finished it, that's when the what is this called again? The where are we now? The quarantine started, and ever since the quarantine, now I have another idea. I keep forgetting the word quarantine, but ever since the quarantine, I now have another idea for a series I'm going to write, and I got this special I have to finish all the paperwork for. So there's a lot going on. You can be at home and have a lot going on. It's a very weird time culturally, and some people are very afraid, and some people are being very proactive. Proactive is our only chance, though, because if you're afraid, it's just going to make it's just going to set you back even worse. But if you and I don't blame people for being afraid. This is something none of us have ever gone through before. But our only way out is through at least attempting to realize that we are going to come out of this, and when you do, choosing someone you want to be when we're out. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you're doing it right. I think quarantine has been very, very good for Michael Gelbart.
Some days it's horrible. Like, I don't talk about when I eat an entire pint of ice cream. I didn't mention that when I'm talking about being proactive, but I ate a lot of chicken wings today. I didn't bring that up, but um,
Well, I'm excited for your musical.
yeah, I really believe in it. But I mean, everything I've ever written, I think is going to be huge, or I believe in all of it, and some of it actually got made, but most of it hasn't. But each time I'm
Right.
writing, I'm like, this is the one. Each time.
Each time you write it, you think big things are going to happen with it, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, but yeah, every time I have that same attitude. It's like, how can this not be the next big thing? Every time.
Were you happy with a very cool Christmas?
No. No, I'm not happy. Here's the thing. I'm happy and grateful. Well, I'm grateful. I'm glad that a movie I wrote got made, and it got made when I was about just before I turned 31. So you're young and you believe that everything you're going to do is going to work because it was only the third time I ever tried to write a movie, and that was the one that got made. But am I happy with it? I got to
Oh.
go with out and out no. I mean, there's things that I like about it, but it's and it still finds its way into popular culture. Like, it's still streaming and it's still out there somehow after 15 years. But I don't look at it and I don't rewatch it. And and I don't think it's a particularly great movie, but there's moments of it I think are funny and valuable. And for some reason it's made some people happy. They love it, but so ultimately I'm glad it exists.
Maybe you need to do a sequel. Another very cool Christmas.
No, no, I'll never do that in my life. But I'll tell you something. I mean, I've written 8 movies, and that's the only. A couple of them got optioned. Which, if for anyone who doesn't know, that's when they throw a little bit of money at you for a year because they think they're going to make the movie, and then the option runs out and they don't make your movie. That happened
Hmm.
a couple times. But a very cool Christmas out of like the 8 or 9 movies I've written is the only one that got made. And I got to tell you right now, I got to publicly announce I cannot let my life end without that being my only only movie that got made. Yes, I've written like 30 episodes of TV shows and stuff like that, but I need to get more of these movies made for sure.
What was the best episode you ever wrote, in your opinion, for TV?
Well, again, all most of this is animated kid shows and tween sitcoms and stuff, so I don't know. It's not the it's the best within that world, I would suppose.
Yeah.
But um I remember there was an episode of a sitcom called Naturally Sadie that I was quite proud of. And the kids on the show had a mock trial. And I remember thinking, I love this script. Like, I should be able to write on any tween sitcom in the world after this one. I should be able to go into any writer's room of any tween sitcom and say, step aside. I got this. But yeah, but yeah, I don't normally view any of those shows as my best because it's your best within the context of the show itself, you know.
The king of tween sitcoms, Michael Gelbart.
You know I would hate that name.
Gelbart.
I hate that name too.
But
It sounds like you're about to wrap things up, right? So
no, I got another question I want to ask you.
I want to tell you a bizarre non sequitur. So I didn't like
Yeah.
the name Gelby anymore, right? But I can't say to people, call me Michael, because that's a weird thing to say to people. And you can't say, call me Mike. I didn't feel like a Mike or a Michael, you know? So I was like, hey, call me Sweet Mikey G, right? So then I realized I changed names from Gelby to something else I also don't like. So now it's like people either say Gelby or Sweet Mikey G, and I'm like, I hate both of those.
Sweet Mikey G. That's got to be it. Sweet Mikey G. That's how we're billing this podcast
Yeah, but the
episode.
thing about Sweet Mikey G is and Gelby is if you hear them, you're gonna want to say them. They sound like fun things to say. So psychologically, I was correct about the human
about human beings. You give them something ridiculous or playful to say, or something that just rolls off the tongue, and they're going to want to say it. But it's your own fault if you plant the seed in the first place.
Yeah, why are you needing to tell people what to call you anyway? Your name is Michael Gelbart.
That's right. That would be a great name for the episode. His name is Michael Gelbart. That's what I'd call him.
Okay, well, we'll do it. Hey, starting out in Toronto, who was Norm the funniest Toronto comic of your era, or was there someone else that maybe we don't know about that you just thought was great?
My favorite, everyone's favorite, I started in 1990 in high school, but on amateur nights, and then you'd go to a regular show. You'd see like a real headliner and stuff on the weekends. And I saw Norm, and he was my favorite for sure. And I think he was Toronto's favorite. Like all the comedian, all his peers. I was not a peer. I'm still not. But all his peers were like, Norm's the funniest. Norm's the one who's going to be famous. And in that era, the early 90s, I remember Norm was there and Harlan Williams was there. And
Mm-hmm.
these guys were I mean, it was so cool to go to a club and see them headline when I was in high school. And now to still know them, I don't know. I haven't talked to Norm in 10 years. He just wrote me on Facebook 10 years ago, asked me a question, I answered it, and I never heard from him again. But
Yeah.
I still run into Harlan from time to time, and those guys I consider really funny when I was young, and I still do. Harlan's comedy style isn't one that I ever took something from and emulated, or he wasn't an influence. He was just someone I looked at and said, I admire the bravery of the performance, the character. I just thought it was really cool. And he was a hell of a nice guy too. I remember him being one of the first comics who was nice to me when I was a kid.
Ah, that's important. That is important. But did you answer, or what's the answer, Norm, as to who your favorite was at that time?
Yes, my favorite was absolutely Norm. On
Right.
television as a kid, ever since I was about 6, it was Seinfeld. But from 17 on, like performing in clubs and stuff, it was Norm. And they still remain two of my favorites. I mean, I love Dave Chappelle also, but I don't watch a lot of stand up. Like when a new special debuts on Netflix, I don't watch it. I watch all the Dave Chappelle ones. I watch the Chris Rock ones. But when I'm seeking out entertainment, and if a Norm one comes up, I would watch that in a heartbeat. But when I'm seeking out something that I find entertaining, I gravitate to Better Call Saul or Breaking Bad or a Quentin Tarantino movie, especially Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or something.
Yes.
But for me, yeah, that's where I find my entertainment. But I don't get it from stand up, probably because I heard it for myself. Because starting so young, you start it because you love it, and then you see too much of it, and then so now I have cherry picked my favorites, and I don't even watch anything else. Plus, if I'm performing somewhere, I try not to watch the people before me because number one, I don't want to drop something that night because they already said it, because they could talk yourself out of saying something that you have your own original take on. Number two, I just don't think I don't, I'm having trouble finding new comedians that I like.
Oh, so if you play in Vancouver, you got to get Sam Tonning opening for you.
Yeah, we will share no material whatsoever.
I've heard that Sam Tonning is the best of the young comedians. That's what they tell me.
Appropriately aged comedians.
Well,
Appropriately
yeah,
aged.
definitely not. I mean, is 34 young? I think it is. I'll tell you why. It depends on what you're doing. No, Sam, I'll explain this. If you're running for president, 34 is really young. If you're in high school, 34 is garbage. Like, that's terrible. But it all depends what you're doing. And if you're a 34-year-old stand-up who's quite good, you're right where you need to be, because it takes longer to get good or great at stand-up than almost anything. So I consider some people who are over 40 to still be good young comedians, because finding a voice, the ability to kill in front of an audience, getting enough stage time to actually get great, these things take a very long time. So 34 is
Yeah.
actually you're a young comedian, Sam.
Well, thank you. I'm going to take that to heart when I cash my employment benefits check.
What are you going? What's it going to take to get Michael Gelbart back in Vancouver performing, or anywhere really on the
Yeah.
road?
When are you coming back?
I don't know. I'd love to come back soon. Sam, what do you talk about in your stand up the most?
Oh, Jesus. Well, one of my favorite comedians is Robert Schimmel, which should explain it all. So, sex, male insecurity.
Well, let me
Okay,
tell you
yeah, that's
something.
probably the most.
Whores. He talks about whores.
I
Years
don't think
ago,
I have any jokes about prostitutes.
No, you don't.
when I was a boy, no, actually, when I wasn't a boy, but like in '05, I'd been in LA for 2 years, and I was invited to be on this benefit, and it was at the Improv, and it was sold out. It was an animal raising money for animal rights, and Robert Schimmel was on it, and me and Zach Galifianakis, and I
Oh
remember
man.
I thought it was so cool that I took that page of the list of comedians from the program and I framed it. So I'll always have that to look at, and I'll send you a picture of it, Sam.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, good old Schimmel, man. And that guy, Robert Schimmel,
Oh, so
did
funny.
not. But Sam, if you look at his age, if you go and Google Robert
Hmm.
Schimmel, you will notice that he did not come into prominence or any remote level of popularity until he was deep, deep into his 40s. And a lot of the stuff that you loved
Yeah.
happened in his 50s. So I'm saying that by that rationale, I'm a young comedian. You're a disturbingly young comedian. Yeah, the aging and yeah, it's different with comedy, It's just it's
Another one of Sam's favorites is Rodney Dangerfield, who didn't. It didn't happen for him until what, 50s or 60s?
Well,
yeah,
40s is when he started getting back on.
Oh,
40s,
was it?
50s, yeah.
yeah, but by the time Caddyshack was shot, he was a senior citizen pretty much, right? Like he was like,
Yeah, he
no, I'm
was
not making that
well
up.
into his 50s then, yeah.
No, not well into his 50s,
Yeah, no, it's true.
older.
He's
I'm going to look it up. Yeah,
really? Oh man. Yeah, too.
okay, Caddyshack came out in 1980, right? So Rodney, we're going to IMDb right now.
Holy sh he
Rodney
was over he
Dane,
was 59 years old.
was
Because
that
he
how
was
old he was?
born in no, Caddyshack
It was 80.
he
Summer
was
of
born in
80.
1921.
So yeah,
Yeah, so he would have been 59 years old.
so he's 59 years old making his cinematic debut, right? Now, by the time
Yeah.
Back to School comes out in 86, we're talking about a 65-year-old man in the lead in a summer blockbuster that's for basically for for teens and college kids, right? And he's the lead is
Yeah.
65. Now his characters were never like the guy he's playing in Caddyshack or the guy he's playing in Back to School is not 65. You know how old he is? He's Rodney Dangerfield. He's not an age, right? When you look like Rodney Dangerfield, no one else in the room looks like you. So there's no way to gauge his age. If that guy goes, I'm 45, you go, okay, because no one else looks like you. So I don't know who to compare you to. Or if he goes, I'm 80, you say the same thing. Because when you look that different than everyone else in the room, you could be anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That makes
totally.
sense.
It totally makes sense. And it's so true.
Lots of hope for Sam Tine and Michael Gelbart to make their screen debuts. And that, Michael, was a cue that, yeah, we are wrapping things up now. I don't know what I'm going to do in editing this episode, but hopefully we'll get something out of it.
I think it's going to be great.
If you want to do it again sooner or later, we can, because I didn't start getting good until really late into the show.
It's just like Rodney Dangerfield's career.
I spent exactly. This episode is a lot like Rodney, but I didn't. It's if we have to re-record for whatever reason, you count me in. The first little while, I was just focused so heavily on the audio that I was out of my head. But then when I started to get great, hopefully, I don't know. You tell me if we need to, but I'm here for you if you have to.
Thanks. And definitely when or if you come to Vancouver, whether you're performing or not.
Yes.
Yes, then we'll record it in person. We won't need to have technology ruining things.
Yeah,
for
but
us.
I want to make sure my technology is good enough in the future. You know, I
for
can't
your
allow
own podcast. Yeah,
I can't allow this to ever happen again for you or for anyone.
your reputation is at stake.
Oh, I feel bad about the whole thing, but I loved being on the show.
Loved having you. Good luck with the musical and with the stand-up special.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm going to start writing a new series by the time the quarantine is over, I will have finished a new 1-hour drama. Like I'm writing a streaming drama will be next.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
That's my next goal.
As penned by Mikey G or whatever the name was.
It was Sweet Mikey G, but it's really my name here going forward. I'm Michael Gelbart always from now on.
All right, Michael. Thanks for talking with us and everything that you do.
I want you guys to remember one thing. This has been Michael Gelbart, and you've been listening to What's So Funny with Guy and Sam on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM, your isolation station.
We got it.
I think that was the one right there.
That was it.
All right, you guys.
That was the one, Michael. Sweet Mikey G, Gelby, scratch those names. They're crap. Michael Gelbart, thumbs up. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you, my fine friends. I look forward to speaking to you both again.
Thanks a lot.
Goodbye, chums.
Later.